Hello there, and you're very welcome again to the breakdown on the Racing Post social channels in association with Ladbrokes. My name is Ryle Nugent, and I am joined this week by two former Irish international back rows, Mr. Stephen Ferris and Mr. Dominic Ryan. Gentlemen, you're both very, very welcome indeed. Let's start with a quick look back to what happened a couple of weeks ago. It feels like a long time ago now. Ireland going to Scotland and winning. Stephen, were you impressed with the way that they bounced back?
Yeah, I think it was. You know, the Irish team needed a response, and they certainly got that. I was just disappointed again with Scotland. I thought, you know, a lot of hype, a lot of chat that, you know, they're in a good place, but a few injuries just, you know, really crucifies the Scottish team, and they'll be looking to bounce back themselves this weekend. But the Irish team for sure put in a really dominant performance. And what they wanted to do when they went to Murrayfield was get the job done, and that's exactly what they did.
And then you look at what happened between England and France, and you wonder what's happened to French rugby. It's as much the attitude, Dominic, as anything like that. Yeah. I mean, defensively, yes, other teams are going to create opportunities, but the attitude of the French seemed awful.
Yeah. Even when Huget was turning back, not running properly, it seemed they just they lost any will to keep playing. And I kind of touched on it the other week. I think it stems down to the lack of professionalism at club level in France, and I think it's been shown at the international level now, and they have a lot to prove this weekend. And I think we'll definitely see a response from them against the Scots.
I know you think that, and we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. And then a quick word on an experimental Wales team in Italy. I guess Warren Gatland is doing what he knows is required for a World Cup, where he's got to bring players in and hope they can perform at a level, albeit not at an A level, and he will have learned some stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the Welsh regions at the minute, you look at the Scarlets, they haven't really performed this season, and I think he's just testing a few lads out. When they come into international camp and they put on that red jersey for Wales, where's their headspace? Because I know a lot of the internationals that are playing for the regions just aren't on the money when they're playing for their clubs. So when, you know, that transition happens and you go into international camp, it just seems like the lads lifted an extra 10-15%. And yes, of course, it wasn't the perfect performance away in Italy, but again, a bit like Ireland going to Murrayfield, it was just about getting the result. And they grinded it out, and, you know, to get the victory, and for Warren Gatland to see some of those guys perform at that level and come up trumps, then, you know, it's a job well done also for him.
Well, what all that has meant is that the betting markets look like this for the coming weekend, as we head into weekend 3 of the Guinness Six Nations. It's pretty straightforward stuff at now. The Six Nations winners, I mean, you just can't back against England in that, can you?
1-7, absolutely not, absolutely not.
That's good value compared to 1-50.
The 1-50. So the Six Nations winners pretty much guaranteed as England, albeit with still a lot of work. The Triple Crown is the next market we'll take a quick look at. England 4-6, no winner, 6-4. Possibly the best value there. And in terms of the championship itself and the winner of the championship as a Grand Slam, England at 4-6. Can you see England at 4-6? Is that worth it?
Well, they're 1-2 this weekend to win, and then they have to go and beat Scotland and then Italy. Well,
it's all about this.
It's pretty much this weekend.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to this weekend, and we'll do them as we do each week in chronological order. Let's start with Scotland and France Saturday afternoon, and in Paris, a place that Scotland haven't won since 1999, and they're the teams that are there to do the job. Particularly, you look at Scotland and you know, no Finn Russell, no Stuart Hogg, and that is a big problem for them, isn't it?
It's a big problem, but they also don't have Hugh Jones and W.P. Nell, who is the cornerstone of their scrum. So when you're not getting that advantage up front, and, you know, you're missing some of your key players, you're always going to struggle. You know, but Dominic's probably going to touch on the French. He's expecting a big response and going to see the best out of them. But when you have such young inexperience, and Ntamak and Dupont, 19 and 22 respectively, so, you know, really young halfbacks in these big international games, you need people that are going to lead you around the pitch. So it'll be a test for those young men, but there is plenty of experience through the squad. And I expect, I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 years, I expect France to bounce back. They have to bounce back. They're at home, they're against a depleted Scotland team that I think are trying to find a bit of form also. So for me, I'm just giving
I
it to
actually think
France.
that youth is a good thing. I mean, Dupont came on, replaced Para, and he looked like one of the few people on the pitch who actually, you know, who were concerned about the team's performance. Himself and Piccamo seemed to be the only two people trying. And then you got Entamac at 10 as well. You know, it's going to be, you know, you've got two kind of youth people who maybe feel they've got something to prove.
And yet, guys, and I think this is part of it from why you struggle to understand. You guys have come from club structure, international structure, where attitude was just a given. That was expected when you walked through the door. How you can't just invent that overnight, and that's where I say I cannot see any evidence whatsoever that France can show up and play what is maybe not the most exciting Scottish team, but at least it'll be structured.
You're going for Scotland?
Oh, absolutely. I've given up on France at this point.
I think France -6 is a great bet.
Let's have a look if we can at the match betting.
They were 13-0 up against a good Welsh side. Look, they did crumble, but they've shown that they have the ability, you know, to put points on the board. And I think the two young lads at 9 and 10, they're going to have an element of fear, which is absolutely needed. And hopefully, you know, they can kind of pass that kind of urgency and concern throughout the rest of the team, and it'll make all the boys switched on. So I'd definitely be siding with France -6 this weekend.
They've got loads of ability, they've got great players in there, but I think it all comes to wanting to play for your coach. And you even look at the football with Manchester United, you know, Jose Mourinho, likes of Paul Pogba, one of the best players in the world. This French team have got some unbelievable individual talent, but they're just not performing for their coach. And you know, that attitude just seems to be coming out.
Right. So would you fancy France at -6?
I just think with the calibre of player that they have in their squad, it's going to click. There's going to be line breaks, like you mentioned, 5 line breaks. I think Dupont last when he came on against England. There are guys there that can win a game for you.
But I accept that. France's talent and ability is not in question. Their mental preparation is. But you know, how hard is it to flick that switch?
Yeah,
that you disappear out the back gate week after week. How
well, it was embarrassing. Let's be honest, it was absolutely embarrassing at international level to lose by that to England. Albeit England a great side, but to lose by that margin, you know, in a Six Nations game when you've got the talent in your squad, as Stephen was saying, is pretty much embarrassing at this level. And they've had the week to think about it. As I said, they've got the two young guys in. I just think it's going to happen this weekend. It's a depleted Scotland team. You know, Russell pulls a lot of the strings. Being honest, they probably didn't perform great in Murrayfield against Ireland, and that went in Ireland's favour. They managed to kind of grind out a win. Russell is so key for them. I just think France will give them a good hiding. Okay, well let's have a look at the try score market, and it's pick your one from there, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm straight at the top there with Johan Hughes at 9-1. I think, you know, if the French are going to get Scotland, it's going to be on the edges. And that man there, he's been around for a long time, and he's used to getting on the end of a couple of key passes. So yeah, you know, first try, and obviously, you know, double that if he scores another one in the game. Right?
Yeah, double. That's the Ladbrokes offer this week is double.
I'm going to go Dupont for a little sniper around the corner for the first try, and then maybe get on the end of some forward interplay for the second.
Well, I'm going to hold you to this, because what I'm going to say to you is and far be it from me to disagree with the combined expertise that's sitting in front of me, but I just think that Scotland will come with structure, they will come with a game plan, and if they manage to hold out the first 20-30 minutes where they dampen down the usual French exuberance, I can't see France, I can see no evidence that France can flick the switch and beat Scotland. So I'm going with Scotland.
You're going with Scotland win?
Scotland win for the first time since '99. I wouldn't necessarily trust my judgment, but anyway. Okay, let's move on to the second game of the weekend, and the game I think everybody, all the neutrals, are really looking forward to, which is Wales against England. It's the championship defining game in many ways. England, let's talk about the Vunipola factor for a start. Yeah. Yes, he's a prop forward without any, without wishing to insult prop forwards around the world. But he is a pillar of that English team and the way that they approach the game. How big a loss is he?
He's a huge loss, of course. One of your main ball carriers. He's great at getting over the ball, winning turnovers also. Seems a bit of a character and kind of leads from the front, up front. But I just think they've got so many other guys that are very similar to him in the team also that can do just as good a job. And you know, when one guy slips out, another one can slip in there who's just as good ability. So for me, yes, it's a loss, of course it is, but Moon's he's a good scrummager. He's very, very solid, been around the block a long time, and yeah, I just think this English team have got too much for Wales. I know they're playing away from home, but their momentum is so key during the Six Nations, and if you can keep that going, it doesn't matter if you're going to the Principality Stadium, you're going to be in there with a result.
Sure, just a little bit on that word momentum, whether it's at a club level or at international level. When you feel that you're in that zone, I mean, does it make you feel invincible walking out?
Well,
there's
a fine line, I think, between momentum and complacency, you know, and maybe that crept into Ireland. You know, they had a fantastic in November, and then they come into the first round of Six Nations with that momentum, you know, somewhat. But was it maybe an air of complacency about the team, and that's why, you know, they didn't come away with the win?
You feel that Eddie Jones is never going to allow his side to become complacent, though.
Well,
right?
Particularly what happened to him last year in the Six Nations, and he's in sniffing distance of a Grand Slam. You know, you beat this Welsh team, maybe the complacency could creep in against, you know, Scotland or Wales. But I think this at the moment is a huge game. The Moon selection, I think, is interesting. I thought they maybe would have went with Ellis Genge, but I think where England have the edge, Ellis Genge's on the bench, you know, they've got Brad Shields on the bench, they've got a much better bench than the Welsh bench. I think, you know, they've gone with Anscombe at 10, Wales. I personally think Biggar's a better 10, but look, that's open for debate. But look, yeah, as I said,
I think that selection maybe shows the game plan that Wales are going to come with
Gareth Anscombe.
With Gareth Anscombe, more of a running game, and you know, he's great at taking the ball to the line. You know, he isn't scared of taking the ball on himself. Where Dan Biggar would like to sit back, kick the ball a lot more. And I just think he's got a bit more of an attacking edge to his game, so maybe that's going to show us.
Could be dangerous against this English defence, though, in a way. You know, if he's taken it to the line and they defend like they did against Ireland, I mean, they're going to be putting the Welsh lads on their asses again, you know.
One of the, and it's an area both of you have significant expertise in, one of the areas that's really struck me as being a real positive for England, coming into this Six Nations, that back row of Wilson and Curry either side of Vunipola, I wasn't sure. I think they've just been outstanding. Have you been surprised by it?
Yeah, I have been surprised. I wasn't really that impressed. Everybody was talking to me about Tom Curry being the great white hope for England, you know, especially with a few injuries there. But, you know, his tackle count this season in a white jersey has been incredible. And, you know, I thought against Ireland, he was just immense, and he's kicked on. And I think Wilson is the same. He's just the guy that does all the dirty work and the hard yards and the few turnovers that he gets during games, and it just kills momentum for the opposition. So, yeah, and of course, Billy Vunipola packing down at number 8. He's 125 kgs of...
I think, you know, sorry for interrupting. You hear a lot about a balance in a back row, and, you know, we would be happy to play in any kind of back row, but there is a real balance in this. You've got Billy, who's a massive ball carrier. You got Curry, who's really good over the ball. He'll tackle all day, and then Wilson's just going to do the dirty work all day long. You know,
it'll be an interesting battle, that one, with what is not exactly a lightweight or inexperienced back three for Wales in terms of Navati, Tapuric, and Moriarty.
They'll miss Faletau this weekend, I think. You know, Moriarty's really, really tough, really, really strong. Tipper can make his tackles. Navidi's, you know, similar, good carrier, but Faletau, I think they'll miss
more dynamic, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, the last number of games between Wales and England have gone England's way, but they've been very small margins, 6 points or less. And you look then at the match betting, knowing what we know, and the fact that it's in the Principality Stadium is obviously of advantage to Wales. Wales +4. Can I tempt anybody?
It's tight, and history shows us that, you know, the last 4 games has been within a score. Yeah. So I think that's probably just about right. But England have won the last 5 games against Wales, home and away. So for me, England are going to win this. I don't know about many points. What do you think?
Gun to your head, you have to pick one. Come on.
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
That's what you're here for. That's what you're here for.
England +4 then.
England -4.
Yeah.
England -4.
Yeah.
I'd side with that as well.
On the roll.
But I think the nap of the weekend is England straight win, doubled with France straight win. It's paying about just under 6-5. So that double, just straight wins, take out the margins. I think that's a great bet.
Okay. I have to say, I think England are going to win and win reasonably well here. feel that momentum. There's a real self-belief, and I think Eddie Jones, he's put that dog back into them and said, we're going to lay down a marker here for a World Cup. And I'm with England on this one, definitely. Let's have a look at the first try scorer market. I mean, Johnny May's been in absolutely superb form, and 2 quick tries and starts of games. England again will try and explode out of the block. Would you go with May? Do you fancy anybody else there on that for the first try scorer?
No, I think for me, Johnny May, just the form that he's in. I think Eddie Jones after the game saying he's like a dog who just gets out and chases the ball and just chases everything all day long. And I think, you know, he just strikes me as a character who is up for setting records and up for, you know, scoring 5 tries in a game if he can. He just seems to be that type of character.
Yeah, he's got that sense of invincibility about him. You can see it. He feels like, I can do anything here.
He does. So for me, Johnny May, 7-1, I think that's a great shout.
Having played with him over in Leicester, the guy's obsessed with scoring tries. He's obsessed with rugby. He's obsessed with, you know, keeping himself in shape, being the fastest person on the pitch. He just loves all that, and he just loves his job as a winger, and he loves scoring tries. So I think, look, 7-1. He's done it the last 2 games, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Ireland and France.
Yeah. So look, remember, double odds on first try scorer if your player scores another try. So that's a market worth looking at and reminding yourself about over the weekend. And then let's go on to the third match of the weekend, and then this one should be a slam dunk, you feel, in Ireland's favour. No Parise for Italy, and as we sit here now, we haven't got the definitive team information, but we do know that Sergio Parise is out. Italy, it's just got so hard for them, and if momentum in one way is a positive, momentum in the way that they've gone is so hard to overcome, isn't it? When you just, no matter what you do, it keeps going against you, Steve.
Yeah, thankfully I was never in a changing room where you were kind of
going backwards every week.
Yeah, going backwards every week and thinking that there was no way out of this. I'm not sure. I know we chatted about Conor O'Shea a couple of weeks ago, Raoul, but I'm not sure if he's made this Italy team any better. And they got to start improving, and I don't think they are improving at all. They've changed players, coaches, and for me, they're still going backwards. There's always this chat of, should there be a knockout in the Six Nations? Should Georgia come in and everything else? I think Italy have got a lot of scope. You look at the club teams at the minute, Zebra and Benetton, they're starting to come. They're starting to play a bit of a better brand of rugby.
In fairness, that was part of O'Shea's brief to go in there.
It seems to be working at club level.
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't made the transition. Maybe that's a year or 2 away.
Well,
you know?
I think Kieran Crowley would probably disagree that the success of Treviso where they are in the league is all down to Conor O'Shea. That's my own personal opinion on it. But for me, Italy just are in a bad place. You think French rugby's in a bad place. I think Italian rugby's.
They're a couple of years away yet, and I think he is building. And I remember speaking to him a few years ago, and he said the problem with the Italian system is it's right down at it's at schools level. Do you know what I mean? The feeder system into the club teams isn't good enough, and then that isn't feeding into the national team. And look, he knows it's a long project. It could be 4 or 5 year project if he gets afforded that that luxury of having that amount of time before maybe he gets the shepherd's hook. But I think it seems to be working somewhat at club level. Now they need to make the transition into the international side as well.
Yeah, and it's been difficult for them and continues to be. And you look at what Ireland will put out against them this weekend, and we don't have the team officially, but it looks like Sean Cronin is finally going to start his first ever Six Nations match on the day he wins his 68th international.
Long overdue.
Overdue.
He's a fantastic player.
Just a word on him. You both played with him.
Yeah, first of all, he's a great bloke. He's a really good guy. Great person to have around the team. But he's a tremendous athlete, and I think he thoroughly deserves his chance. I said after the game when Ireland beat Scotland away that I wanted Sean Cronin to start the next game. I said that straight after the match. And hopefully, with a bit of inside knowledge from Raoul, he tells us that he's
he thinks he may be starting. Maybe he's watched the team train.
But he's a great bloke and a fantastic player, and I think it's a perfect game for him to get his 10th start. Did you say?
It's his 10th start for Ireland.
In 68 caps.
Yeah.
So great for him.
Let's have a look at the match betting, which is as you would expect, pretty straightforward. Italy plus 29. If you're going to have a look at this market, you're going to have a look at it in that context.
I think it's a minus weekend. I've gone to 2 minuses already. Make it a hat trick of minuses.
Really?
Yeah. I think the minus 29. Ireland just keep the pressure on. As I said, the last week, you think 29 points is enough for Italy to cover, but you back it and you have your head in your hands at half time thinking, why did I fall for it again?
I know. So, but just let me ask you about mindset as a player. You go to a game that you automatically assume you're going to win. Is there a trapdoor in that for Ireland?
Possibly, but I think there's going to be guys that are going to be on the team that they're going to use this as an opportunity to kind of show Joe Smith before the World Cup comes around that they're capable of mixing it at the top. So I think there isn't a trapdoor there, and these guys they're fully professional. They're professional players, and they're not going to slip up against.
I know, but just let me ask you this question again, because are you seriously telling me that there was no time that you felt in your career when you went into a game where you just weren't at the pitch you knew you needed to be?
Might be different if they had beat England and they had beat Scotland convincingly.
Yeah.
When they got kind of embarrassed at home and they scraped through Scotland and Murrayfield, we're waiting for a big performance from this Irish team that we were kind of hoping for in the first round. And away in Rome, I mean, they've done it before, recently enough to beat them by 50 odd points. Yeah. And I think there's the hunger to put in a proper performance.
54-7 in Chicago in November, if that's your.
I think I backed Italy at plus 29 points or something.
So you're having none of it this time.
As Dominic said, I have my head in my hands at them. Well, why did I do that again? But the only thing with Ireland, every team can have a bad day at the office. Every team can struggle and things just don't function well. I think that's what happened to Ireland in the first game against England. But good teams don't let that happen too often. And Ireland are a very good team, and I don't think they'll slip up against Italy.
I think it's time for the big one. I mean, they've got a point to prove. They've got the kind of nation with question marks over the team. Are they not clicking? But I think, if they click, I mean, go back to their November form. If that happens again, they'll absolutely dismantling Italy.
Okay, well, can we have a look? Are there tissue prices there yet for the first try score? We'll ask you to check with your local Ladbrokes agent on that one and have a look online at the first try score prices there. And again, remembering that there are double odds on the first try scorers with Ladbrokes this weekend. When the teams are named, those prices will be available to you. Let's sum it up. Are we saying that you guys are in unison? You are expecting France to win, you're expecting England to win, and you're expecting Ireland to win, and you have no doubts in any of those
areas?
I think
the treble,
I wouldn't say doubts, Rob.
I'd put my
house to be about to say.
Not quite house. I mean, that's a bit much. I don't want to be homeless. But no, those three teams to win a nice treble. I think you'll have a good weekend. It'll keep you interested Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully you get a few bob in the pocket as well.
I think Scotland are going to mess you up. We will talk about that with you guys next week. Thank you very much. That's it from the breakdown for this week. Enjoy your Six Nations weekend.